Okay, I'll call to order the regular meeting of Monday, March 28th. I ask that all who have not signed in, please do so. Please turn off cell phones and other electronic devices, and please conduct any private conversations in the hallway or outside. And emergency exits can be found on your right and your left. This meeting is also live streamed via YouTube with text commenting available for the public. At this time, if you could please join Post 931 members that are here in a salute to the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, public hearing. Ask our clerk, deputy clerk, to read the public hearing notice.
A notice for the public hearing to establish the Bluemont Rise Drainage Improvement Area scheduled for the 28th day of March at 7 p.m. in the Victor Town Hall was published in the Daily Messenger newspaper on March 13th, 2022, and posted at the Victor Village Hall and the Victor Town Hall.
Thank you, Renee. Again, I know board members, you have information in front of you that the, just a couple things real quick, that the proposed drainage improvements include the creation of a stormwater management facility, the maintenance of the stormwater drainage system for the residential subdivision known as Bluemont. The district, the capital costs will be paid by the petitioner, and the maintenance of which shall be assessed, levied, and collected annually from the property owners within the Victor Drainage Improvement Area. There are no capital costs for the town for this expansion. No financing will be employed, and therefore it is not necessary to obtain the approval of the New York State Comptroller's Office. So at this time, I entertain any comments from the public.
This is just the open session?
This is for a public hearing related to this drainage improvement area.
Never mind.
Oh, I'll be there.
Again, comments on the drainage improvement area. Hearing no comments. This time, a motion to close the public hearing.
Moved. Second.
Eve.
Condon.
Eve. Then me.
Condon, then Kohovic.
Thank you.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, moving to meeting announcements. For the month of April, we have 7 employees who will be celebrating a birthday, starting with Judge Reed Holter on the 3rd, Kelly Kabinski on the 16th, Mike Stockman on the 17th, Jason Meyer on the 19th, Councilman Ed Kohovic on the 20th, Tom Sterone on the 21st, and Neil Chapman on the 27th. So happy birthday in advance to all those individuals. The April 11th Town Board meeting will start at 6:30 p.m. This will be a joint meeting with the Village Board of Trustees. The intent of the joint meeting is to listen to a presentation from the Victor Central School Superintendent on the district's strategic plan. Upon the conclusion of this joint meeting, a short recess will take place, followed by the regular scheduled Town Board meeting. This coming Wednesday, March the 30th, the town will be hosting a library informational session here in this room, starting at 7 p.m. This meeting will be live streamed as well for the public's benefit. At this time, our town clerk is away. Our deputy town clerk, Renee McConnell, is here. I appreciate you sitting in here, Renee. In addition, I want to mention that, because I won't get any of these opportunities in the future, so Renee is retiring in June, so if you'd please join me in a thank you to Renee. Tomorrow morning, I can count on a nasty note in my box for embarrassing her. Board members, I did provide you with some additional information at your place setting, some additional sidewalk information that, in addition to what Renee had provided the board members with, also a email from Councilman Cusimano, and then some additional light reading for your pleasure. Approval of meeting minutes. If the board has any if there is no objection, consideration to take meeting minutes on the 28th of February and March 14th as a block.
I would oppose that because I'm going to abstain from the 28th as I was not present.
Okay.
So I'd have them separate, please.
Okay. February 28th, town board meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Abstain.
Abstain, Councilman Kohovic. And the 14th.
So
Motion.
moved.
I'm sorry, motion to approve.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Board members, if you could just help Renee out with maybe identifying, she's not used to hearing the voices like Karen is, so.
I made the motion. Ed Kohovic.
Aye, second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, payment and bills. Renee, when you're ready, if you'd please introduce them.
Manifest number 6 for 2022 in the amount of $289,135.70 has been reviewed by the Victor Town Board with the following accounts charged: General Townwide, General Outside Village, Highway Townwide, the lighting districts of Fishers, Brookwood Meadows, High Point, Cobblestone, Quail Ridge, Rolling Meadows, Stoneley, and Legacy at the Fairways, SS Consolidated Sewer Fund, and Trust and Agency.
Thank you, Renee. And you can see up on the screen, our first payment is for American Rock Salt, our road salt. Next is payment to B&M International for the rent for the town courts. Next is Bluestone Creek Development, April rent for the recreation facility. Payment to CDW for PCs and laptops, town upgrades. Payment to Guardian Insurance, April dental. Payment to Integrated Systems, conference room video equipment. Payment to LaBella Associates. Chargebacks to developers are included. And final cost to the town is $20,043.25. Payment to MVP Health for the April healthcare employees and retirees. Next is payment to Mangel Metzger Bar. This is for the initial audit charges. And NOCO Energy, diesel fuel. And then payment to RG&E for February and March electric. Total of the above-mentioned expenditures is $238,472.55. Total town expenditures minus the previous mentioned expenditures equals $50,663.15. Town board members, any questions on this evening's abstract? Hearing none, entertain a motion to approve the payments thereof.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving to privilege of the floor, Mr. Randy Shea, representing Post 931 American Legion.
Good evening, town board members and general public. Thank you for allowing me privilege of the floor to present for American Legion, Victor, New York, James Cook, Post 931, as an update to what we would like to do for the front of the town hall. And also, I think I got 15 minutes, and there might be just enough time to say, hey, darling, my wife's watching on YouTube. She wasn't able to come tonight. So let me get on with this. So this is just the cover page before and after. Let's continue on. Thank you, Susie, for helping. Quick review. Let's go on to the next one. On August 23rd, 2021, we came before the Victor Town Board to ask that they increase the amount budgeted annually for assisting in U.S. veteran-related projects in the town of Victor, New York. In response, the board decided to increase the budget for 2022 from $5,000 to $15,000, which we are greatly appreciative. It was understood at the time that prior to moving forward with any plans, we would need to come back before the board, again, with, among other things, in the next slide, a minimum of 3 quotes, if possible, for the enhancements we are proposing to have done to the existing monument and the area. A start-to-finish timetable, again, if possible, and logistics of how the required work will be completed and who will coordinate the project on behalf of the town. Also, that we would, to the best of our abilities, identify and/or get commitments from the various key players to be involved in helping to ensure the successful completion of the project in a professional, timely, and cost-efficient manner. And so this is our response. I have been working, I have tried to get 3 quotes as you requested. Unfortunately, there really aren't a lot of qualified monument companies is number one problem. A lot of monument companies are overwhelmed, unfortunately, as a result in part of the COVID. And then now also there's another complication with supply chain and getting the monuments in granite. So as far as what I was able to do, though, there was one standout. You won't see the names of the monument companies up on the screen here, but all of the board members have the names of the companies. As far as, the first one, we got a quote. They were unable to meet the projected requirements. We do have a couple of unusual requirements as to what we want done. So, but that was part of it. The other one was unable to assist at this time. They're just overwhelmed with work. Another one was unsuitable for the project. The fourth one was the quote provided. In fact, they provided I think almost 10 quotes so far since the start of this. So, but they're able to meet the project requirements, which I also gave to the town board in terms of what we're hoping to get them to agree to. Company number 5, actually, an update that even the Legion members don't know is that I have been in talks with Gibney Monument Works Incorporated out of Perry, New York, and they are suitable. They may be able to do it, and they're going to send a quote. So we probably will have 2 quotes at least to look at. One of the things that has happened though with the quotes is the amounts have gone up. The amount of the granite from anything supplied from international level is gone up like 40–50% since I started this project. So the amount of our quotes have just gone up. It probably would have been better to lock in last year before I even got any quotes, but the project is going to run easily $30,000 once we're all done with not only the monument, the other work that needs to be done as well. And I was hoping to keep it under 30. We still probably can do that. Let's move to the next slide. Start time. I'm proposing that the town board decides to move forward first week of June 2022, and that would be to move forward with phase 1. I'll explain more about phase 1 and phase 2 later, but everything except installation of the monument enhancement, which is the piece we want to put in under the existing monument, to be completed by July 22, so the front of the town hall isn't tore up for too long. I believe that's very possible. And then phase 2 to be completed when the monument enhancement is ready to be installed. Here again, supply chain delay. Both of the companies said it would be late fall, early winter, maybe even next year that the piece that we want to get could even get over here. So it's a problem with that. So there's no sense in holding the project up, though. We can do a lot, and you'll see what I'm going to propose in just a minute. So let's go on and move on. The town of Victor, basically the key players, obviously it's town property, obviously it's the town hall. The town should select somebody who could coordinate all of this. That's not something that I've got a couple names of possibilities, but there should be one coordinator. They don't necessarily have to do a lot of work, but they do need to be, there and make some decisions along the way as to what's going on. The good news is, though, the really good news is the Village of Victor DPW, John Turner, his crew is more than qualified to do the work that we're talking, or at least most of it, and they're willing. And so that's huge. That'll save us a lot of money in doing this. And so then the monument company selected another key player, whoever it is that we finally decide on, electrical contractors. other outside contractors if needed. Like, for instance, we might need a crane, or we might need a boom truck or something to remove the flagpoles and move the granite around. That's outside of my pay grade to decide on all that stuff, but I believe that we might even have the equipment needed right here at the town or village level necessary to do that kind of work, so that'll save us some money. So let's move to the next one. Project coordination and logistics. I don't have to go over this. I kind of already did. It should be somebody from the town. So let's go to the next slide. Village of Victor, New York government. I went back and forth with Gary Haddon this week, and we had some technical issues, but he provided this for me. This is actually what he said I should replace what I had, put it this in. The Village Board of Trustees is in support of this project as a town, village, James Cook, Post 931, collaborative effort. Upon consultation with Department of Public Works Director John Turner, the village is willing to contribute in-kind labor services through the DPW crew. Materials we're going to pick up somehow with our group here, James Cook Post 931, and also with what the town is helping us with. But as far as the labor, that's going to be a big thing. And if we could save money other ways along the way, I don't know. Maybe people got connections to save us money on concrete. I don't know, but. So that'll all be worked out. Continue on to the next one. The Village of Victor willingness to contribute in this way will be instrumental in significantly cutting the cost of this project. It serves as a shining example of the long-standing spirit of collaboration between the town and village governments on projects and/or events that are important and meaningful to the community as a whole. This is, I think, pretty much a perfect project that says that. And I put hashtag Victor Proud, because that seems to be a new thing, and I thought it was something to be proud of. So, carry on. Again, this is the before. It's a little bit larger shot, but everybody's familiar with that. That's what it looks like right now, and they have the Town of Victor Civic Park. That wall, actually, if you look up close, there's a lot of cracks and stuff in it. Another reason why this renovation is smart is the lights haven't been shining on the flags for, 1 or 2 years. The water gets down into the conduit, and they just shut the circuit off, and so there's no light, so we have to redo the electric anyway, so it's a good time to do it. So let's move to the next slide. I'm sorry if I'm going fast, but I'm trying to do the 15-minute thing. This is phase one. So I split it into 2 phases since the last time we talked, because we already have what you see there. The monument that's in the middle is already out there. And basically, we would turn it around and face it to the road after we get done with the new platform, the new footer, taken out and putting the flagpoles back. So that would be a representation of what it would like, hopefully later this summer, until we get the next the piece that we're getting ready, and that's be the next slide. And that's not a perfect picture of what it'll look like, but close. Basically, with my Photoshop and a few other graphics program, I was basically able to make it almost look like that's how it is now. But so that would be, if you want to see it up close, you'll see. But down below and underneath is the part that we're trying to add, and that would be the 6 military emblems. And at the bottom, it would say Victor Veteran Memorial Garden engraved in the granite. So next slide, please. All right, so that's a little bit, this is on graph paper. I drew that out and put that together. But, we decided on bronze. We were thinking painted, but we finally got a solid vote in our last meeting, and everybody agreed unanimously that we want to have bronze on the front of the granite. So let's go to the next slide, I guess. Yep. Now, there are some people in our community that we have respect for that very much wanted to have these kind of flags. They're ceremonial flags, and they wanted to have the 6 services represented, in our design. The Legion itself was not enthusiastic about that idea, but what we did decide to do is we're going to put the inserts in, and you'll see that in the next slide or a couple slides from now. We're going to put the inserts in case somebody wants to do that. That wouldn't be part of our what we're doing right now, but we sure can, when we're putting the cement in, we'll put some inserts in for that possibility later. So next slide, please. Now, this is the work involved. An existing civic park wall removed, flagpoles removed and stored in the town facilities until the new platform is ready for installation. Carefully is a key word, move existing monuments to the side of the garden area until the new platform is ready for installation, the new cement. Excavate project area to prepare for the new cement footer and platform. The existing footer and what we have out there is not sufficient for what will end up being close to 8, maybe 9,000 pound piece of granite or combined piece of granite. Excavate areas where new electrical conduit will be run in preparation for our electrician. My understanding is that John Turner from the village is willing to run the conduit and do that part of the work, but he doesn't really want to touch the electrical part, and that really is something that the town probably should decide on and get an electrician to actually run that and decide what they want to do with the electrical out there. Pour and finish new cement footer and platform to project specs. Project specs I don't have included in this, but by the time that they do the work, they'll have them. It's pretty close already. Reinstall flagpoles. Reinstall existing monument to face the street. Run electric and install new lighting. So that would be the end of phase 2. It may not happen until next year, depending on the availability of the granite that we want to do the work. So move to the next slide, please. Thank you. This is where I'm going to use this fancy pointer thing, maybe. Right here, the electric comes in here. Okay, so it's a 110 20 amp circuit. You may want to do more than that. You may want to put plugs out here. You may want to think about all that. But for what we need to be able to get electrical to here, and new electrical, because the old electrical is probably shot. It's been, drowned in water for a while. But however it is done, I would recommend go around the outside here and reach there, maybe under here, and over here. But these are the lights, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, these are what we're as a Legion, I believe, is part of the project that would come under our cost. This is what would be under our cost as far as getting all this done. However we've got to do that, it would be, what the town is providing is probably only 1/3 of the total cost we anticipated, and we will be doing raising for this. But it is going to be a little more expensive once we add this all together. And so anyway, go on to the next slide. These two lights in front here are going to be something like this. Now, when I first found this, I think it was actually even available. But these are column or pillar style lights, and they're LED, and they're part solar, and they also are hardwired, and they look great. And they're only like $50 or less than $50 each, but they're made in China, and availability is questionable. Me and Bob Haggart went out to Maynard's and a few other places to try to find similar lighting maybe instead of going with this, and we were looking at $300, $400, $500, $600. Commercial stuff was $500 and more to do similar kind of lighting. So we're still exploring our best option for that, but we want 2 of these in front of the monument that would shine, just a little bit of light on the front of the monument itself at nighttime. So let's move to the next slide. Now, this one is, 2 spotlights. They're really only 30 watts for LED, but they're equal to about 150 to 200 watts. And they would shine up at the 2 flags. Typically, there are things that you have to consider about, sun or light pollution and all that, but generally around flag poles, I think there's variances or waivers or whatever, but we think that would be adequate and appropriate for shining on the flags. And we would put it on if you back up 1 slide there, Susie, that would be great, or 2 slides. That would be here behind that, so it would shine up. It would actually be inside the park. You wouldn't see it very well from the street at all. And then there, so those would shine up. That one would shine up that way, and that one would shine up that way. So go ahead and advance back. And then the next one. So I don't know if I made my 15 minutes, but I was trying to talk fast, so I hope that it worked. So my conclusion is to see if any of the board members have questions. Start with that.
I do want to, a couple points. Randy, we do have a contractor that does work on all town facilities, so we will certainly contact him and work with him. I have asked Councilman Ed Kohovic if he would agree to be the liaison on this project, and he has agreed to do that. So, Ed, thank you very much for that. And he would certainly be interfacing with yourself, John Turner, electrical contractor, and certainly any of the other vendors. So, board members, do you have any questions for Mr. Shea? Okay. I think we continue to be in support of the project. I know certainly based on what the town board has put into a budget for this calendar year, there is a shortfall. And I guess one question is, that's monument with the flag inserts, is that the one that will not be available until next year?
No, the monument itself, go back to slide, let me see here. Let's go back to slide, I have them here someplace. Okay, 18. Slide 18. All right, so the monument itself is here, all right? So inserts are just down in the cement. So they're basically holes. I've even seen them made out of PVC. But basically, you put them in the cement, and they're down under, and you can cap them off. But basically, those are 6 holes you'll see there. So they're not a big deal. But that would be the placement of the 6 military flags, should someone want to do that. So, no, that's, I don't know if I answered your question, but the monument is the granite and the new piece that we're putting under it, which I think, you understand what I'm saying, the piece that we're putting under it? The existing one? Jack, do you understand?
Oh, no.
Okay, let's go back to slide, 14. That was it, but, so there. So that's the existing one. This is the one we're waiting for. So this is the quotes that you see that I provided for you, is only including the granite and the bronze emblems. That is, even if at the low quote from what I got last year, is way above what the town is willing to give. And you can count on it, the guys from the American Legion 931 are going to try to save money wherever we can, because the rest of the money comes out of our till. So from that standpoint, I wasn't able to get the 3 quotes that you wanted, but I did a really, as good a job as I could. And also, it doesn't really affect the amount the town's going to pay towards support of this project anyway, so hopefully that $10,000 additional can be released. I was thinking that you might vote to say, and maybe you're not ready, but vote to say, yes, let's start this the first week of June. The reason I recommend that is that John Turner has pretty much cleared his agenda, and he's going to be doing most of the work, the excavating and stuff, and if there's a green light on that, that'll help the planning process. So that's basically what I said at the end, the vote, if you guys are ready.
So Randy, those 6 holes are placeholders in
Yeah.
the concrete foundation for flags.
Yep.
So my first reaction to that is water, ice, freezing, and cracking.
Right.
So I mean, obviously, when they design that, they want to make sure that water, however they do it.
Yep.
I'm not
Proper.
an expert on that, but I
Proper
assume
drainage.
water do a lot of damage in those.
Very good point,
situations.
very good point. And the proper drainage, there's different ways of doing that. If you use PVC, you could have the PVC go down as far as the gravel that's underneath it, and then the whole footer is going to be 4 foot deep, so it'd be below the frost line. If, just for the water that could get into it, but if you're just thinking of saying open holes, no. If it was made with PVC, there's caps that you can kind of put on top, and, put
Right.
temporary sealant or whatever for, if when we're not using them, and they come off easy if we ever do want to add the flags, so it's,
Memorial Day, you might want to put the flags in
Yeah,
there.
yeah, for ceremonial, yeah.
Ceremonial stuff.
Like I said, there's somebody in the community that's been very helpful and influential, and was on the town board, actually, that really felt it was important for us to keep this option open, and so that's what we decided as a Legion. Even though we're not very enthusiastic about the use of these flags, the option is there by putting those inserts in.
So, I mean, I think it looks great. I like, you know, we talked about it. I mean, people are gonna finally see where our Veterans Memorial Park is, by turning it around and facing it towards 96. Usually there's plenty of time, certain times of the day, they'll be able to actually stop for a little bit and take a look as they're coming through town. So what, you're not looking for any financial contribution out of us tonight, you're looking for...
Well, you sort of
Okay,
like,
because we
yes, I guess it-
budgeted the 15, right?
I guess really, I don't know for sure if it requires a vote, but just sort of the green light to know that, that I can tell John Turner that it's good to start the first week of June. I mean, they wouldn't plant flowers in the front. Further on down the road, though, you know, we're trying to make this into a more of a garden area, and we are planning on, and we've already talked to the president of the garden club and the tree club, and we want, and it is even, I've even talked a little bit with Kathy Rayburn that, you know, there's some grant money available. Maybe, you know, the Legion and the garden club and the tree club can take what I've started here, or what we've started, not me. There was a sort of a baton thing. This has gone on. A lot of people have put in a lot of work from the Legion 931. But anyway, if we can, you know, generate some money, then there's still time to do that. You know, if there's grant money available or whatever. But we want this. I mean, this is in front of the town hall. We would love to see the clerks actually like to go out there for lunch. We would like to maybe add some benches later and have it to where, you know, veterans that want to come and sit down. A lot of them are disabled or whatever, but, you know, or just, you know, just a nice little cubby hole that hopefully, you know, doesn't attract people that won't take care of the garbage and things. But, you know, I also talked to Jack Marin about possible reposition of the security camera. But, you know, that doesn't all have to be decided tonight. Just the decision to, you know, take out the wall, do the excavating, put the platform down, and turn the existing monument around. That could be all done starting the first week of June and very likely be completed by maybe July 4th or sometime around then. You know, the municipal workers, they have certain plans and things that they can do and time slots, but then all of a sudden an emergency comes up. So, you know, but as of right now, if we can lock in John Turner and his crew, we will save a ton of money, and they're more than qualified. You've seen their work around town, so that's, I don't know how you get a green light. Does it require a vote? I don't know.
Okay. Dave, thanks for your questions. Any other board members, questions or comments for Randy? Okay, I'm hearing no objections, so,
Yeah, I think we budgeted the money, you know, let's get going, right?
Okay.
And it's nice you're waiting till after the Memorial Day Parade, too.
Yeah,
obviously.
that was part of the
Yeah.
thought. So I'll be talking with you, Ed,
Sure will.
definitely. You got my phone number? Or?
I do.
Okay, so just give me a call and we'll,
Okay.
I'll show, I got a folder this thick.
I bet you do.
We're gonna go over some stuff. Have a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is public comments and concerns. So now general public can come and provide any comments or concerns that they may have regarding town matters. Again, I ask that, as always, be respectful of one's opinion when speaking, and try to keep your comments to a 3-minute period. Just state your name for the public, for the record, please.
Yes. Carol Fisher, 632 Wangam Road in Fishers. The discussion of pickleball has been before this board for 5 months. It's really a land use issue, so how did this land become a town park? The land was previously owned by the Fisher family. They loved the land, and a developer would have loved it too, but not in the same way. The family, led by Preston Fisher, who was a former member of this board, envisioned selling the land to the town so that it could be preserved for future generations. Preston, along with his siblings, Sheldon, Helen, Mary, and Larry's father, Elman, sold the land to the town. This was at a price much less than a developer would have offered. But the important thing to these Fisher siblings was that the land would become a park, preserved, yet open for others to enjoy. A park where it would be used in fitting with the land. Soon after, the Youngs family, in a like-minded move, sold much of their land to the town, and the two properties together combined to 90 acres. In time, the town and Victor hiking trails, the park was opened up. Trails, bridges, boardwalks, picnic tables, and benches were added, thus encouraging people to explore and enjoy. A couple of tennis courts were also added. It could have been a playground or a volleyball court. All the above fit with what the family envisioned. Usage was in balance with the land, not overrunning the land, not overly impacting a whole neighborhood. It was in balance with the neighborhood. I don't have to elaborate as to what happened. It started 2 years ago, beginning slowly. It built exponentially, 8 courts, more land lost to expanded parking, more cars, trucks, and hours upon hours of an unnatural sound produced in a natural amphitheater projected far and wide, disrupting the whole neighborhood. The Fisher family, many are here today, but I'm speaking now of the relatives who sold the land and didn't want to sell it to a developer. I asked myself, would these relatives had wanted to play pickleball? And I think a lot of them would have. But they would not have continued if it grew to overuse the land and to negatively impact the hamlet. So what can be done? The best would be to take out the pickleball courts. That would decrease the cars, the trucks, the waves of people, noise, and the pock, pock, pock. But at the moment, that's not possible. So limiting the hours is essential. We believe that is where Parks and Rec is headed. If anyone says this is a hardship, too many people will be excluded, what you're really saying is that there's a lot of interest and there's not a lot of availability. Yes, that's the problem. But Fisher's Park, with its topography and proximity to homes, should not be the default answer. Fisher's Park should not be expected to be the solution to the explosion of interest in pickleball. The vision was to protect the land and use it in fitting with the land. Pickleball overuses and it abuses. Therefore, limiting the hours is crucial, and such action is appreciated. What other steps? The town should be looking elsewhere for more places to play, because Fisher's Park should not be the default solution to the explosion of pickleball. Victor players, the organized groups and individual players should look for additional places to play, because Fisher's Park should not be the sole solution to the explosion of pickleball. Non-Victor players should be talking to their own officials in their towns to provide courts, because Fisher's Park should not be the expected solution to the pickleball explosion. Lastly, to the town board, thank you for listening. There was a time when we wondered. Thank you to Brian Emerson, who has a very taxing job as it is. This divisive issue has, no doubt, disrupted his department and his sanity. And thank you to the respectful pickleball players who deserve to have many appropriate places to play. Thank you.
Are there other members of the public that care to address the town board?
Good evening. My name is Marty Buttenduck, and I live at 912 Taylor Rise, where I have lived since 2002. We have 3 children who've gone through the Victor School District, and our youngest is currently a sophomore there. We certainly recognize the frustration this has caused some families that live near Fisher Park, and we certainly have heard people express their love and many benefits of this activity. I wanted to add just a few more thoughts to consider as the town determines next steps. Just like parents want their home to offer something so exciting that your kids' friends pick your house to hang out, well, so do towns. A thriving town looks for ways to draw people in. They look for ways to host exciting events. They look for ways to bring people in, spend time and money while they're in our town, and they'll go back and talk about what a great town Victor is. When we built that park, we accomplished that goal. These courts serve an example of what other towns would love to achieve. We did it. We used taxpayers' money and eagerly built this attraction. I cannot think of any other activity that has drawn in so many from such a large age range for such a fun activity that comes with incredible physical benefits so consistently as pickleball. I work as a high school counselor in a neighboring district and have conversations with students and families on a regular basis on how to develop healthy habits, the importance of physical activity to aid in stress reduction, and most importantly, how to combat all the destruction COVID did on their socialization skills. I also see students who have been cut from sports teams that are looking for other ways to enjoy physical activities with a few friends who are in the same boat. Pickleball has met their needs as well. They're off their electronics, they're getting fresh air and sunshine, they're able to have their own sports, and they're with their friends. All good stuff and everything we would want from our youth and our teenagers. I cannot tell you the number of times I've shown up at the Fisher's Courts to relieve my own stress of working in mental health, but I'm thrilled and lifted when I see young kids who have shown up with paddles of their own to play. I've offered to play a few rounds with them, again, something you can only see in pickleball. Youth, adults, and even the elderly, all sharing a common joy and passion. There is no better sight. I have relatives who have lived in Victor for over 50 years. I know many people that have been here that long will say that Victor used to be all farmland, and it was. They're correct. But this town developed, neighborhoods went up, and people then decided they wanted to stay and enjoy it or seek out more farmland. When we built the bike trails through Dry Road, we should not have been surprised when people showed up with their bikes. When we built playgrounds, we should not be surprised when families showed up with excited, screaming, laughing, and sometimes crying kids. When we built these courts, we should not be surprised when people showed up and had fun while getting healthy. So like I said, we hit the jackpot when we created these courts. Unfortunately, this activity comes with noise and much laughter. Knowing all the benefits it brings, there must be a way to keep this an option for all, not just a few hours in the morning for fortunate retired friends, but perhaps hours later in the day that could begin at 4 for just a little bit to accommodate those who work and those students seeking positive after-school experiences. But I couldn't agree more with Carol that perhaps more courts should strongly be considered. I'm just trying to wrap my head around how the town can justify taking our tax money to build this and then denying residents access to it. It goes without saying that is wrong, and it does not sound like something a town of good character who cares about their residents would ever do. So I hope we don't come to that. Thank you.
Any other members of the public?
Hi, I'm Mark Shaver, 591 Eleanor Road in Victor. And I'm not going to talk about pickleball tonight. I know how much that's going to disappoint the board members here. I'm a U.S. Navy veteran, and I just want to say I like the proposal that Randy put up there today. Being a veteran, I got to tell you, I got a little choked up when I saw my Navy emblem in bronze up there. That's all. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments.
I'm Cindy Whitcomb, 1538 State Route 444, Victor. I grew up here in Victor, and I remember it was a small town, everybody was poor. We didn't have all of the amenities that our town has now. We didn't have pickleball courts. I think there might have been a couple tennis courts up at school, but there really wasn't much here. And what the Parks and Rec and what the town has done, how it's grown, is absolutely amazing. Although I've hated seeing all the cornfields and all the fields growing houses instead of corn, that happens, that's growth. And as you're providing recreation for your residents, that's wonderful. And I also would like to see more pickleball courts. If you can find a more appropriate place where we can make all the noise we want and laugh and play and have a great time, that would be wonderful. But until that happens, we would love to still be able to go and play at Fisher's Park and be able to play in the evenings sometimes, because those who work, they can't come in the morning or the afternoon. If I want to go and play pickleball with my husband, he would never be able to go there because he works till 5:30 at night. So evening hours would be really, really important. So thank you.
Are there other members? Okay.
My name is Randy Shea, and I'm speaking as a resident now. I guess I'm not supposed to get political when I'm wearing my uniform, so I took it off. I wanted to say some things about this park area. When I came to Victor, I used to play down there. It was a tennis court, and it was open, it was free, and we just went down, we played some tennis, and it was great. I also had a tour back when Sheldon Fisher was still alive. We went up on the hill, and I don't know if many of you guys know, but he put rocks out back when it was barren at the top of the hill, and airplanes would fly over, and they'd know where they were because of the rocks. I mean, there's some history about that park. And the people that have done the work around there and made that a great park prior to Parks and Recreation getting involved did a great job. And what has happened throughout time since I started here is that people are wanting the Parks and Rec to do more and more and more, and then, have to employ more people, and taxes are going to go up, and, I don't know, maybe that's how things are done these days, but I'd like a horseshoe pit, and I'd like bocce ball, and I can think of a lot of things that I would like, and, to go and expect the town to provide all these things for free, which isn't free, because the taxpayers have to pay it. Somebody has to pay for this stuff and to maintain it, etc. That, I think pickleball may be a very good exercise for kids. We played freeze tag and hide and go seek and all kinds of different things when I was young. Maybe things are different now and we need pickleball. But I'm just sort of saying there's a different perspective on all of this, that anybody who wants to say that the town is maybe doesn't have a heart just because we don't have more pickleball courts, I'm trying to be very respectful and just say I respectfully disagree.
My name is Keith Shields, and I live at 127 East Main Street in Victor. And hearing Carol Fisher say that we should have compromise, I believe that also. And that limited hours, right now it seems to be a dawn to dusk thing, and we can understand why that kind of noise could be annoying. And right now, the courts are locked. Nobody can go on the courts. I was going to say we had some nice weather, and we did for a while, and we had people go over to Mendon Center Park. There's only there's actually 3 pickleball courts there. And we've had people go over there, 12, 13 people, who wanted to play outside in 40-degree weather. We also had some people that we don't know if they were from our group or another group that went out and played at 7:07 at night on Fisher's Park, even though there were closed signs on the park. Courts were temporarily closed. My main concern is, how is the town going to enforce the hours? Is there going to be a aluminum sign in big letters saying that you can only play pickleball on certain hours? Will there be an attendant there? Will the nets be up 24/7, or will they be removed before pickleball and after pickleball? We do have portable nets that we have brought in for the tennis court, And that way we can have 8 courts, and we have 4 permanent pickleball courts. Also, with weather coming up, our people are going to want to go outside to recreate. And we would like to know what's the plan down the road of if the board decides to go with a compromise and come up with hours of play, how will that be advertised and out to people to let them know? Are the gates going to be locked, which means that the father and daughter that want to go and hit tennis balls can't get on the courts? Or if they want to go play pickleball. So those are some of the questions that we have. We know that there's going to be good weather coming, and our people do want to recreate outdoors. This morning, I played at Pinnacle. There were 32 people there, indoors. But when the weather gets nice, they want to go outdoors. And so that's what we want to know from the town, is when the courts would be able to be reopened again and what the hours are going to be. We also, as Marty said, we are also interested in what will happen in the afternoons for people who get out of work and would like to play pickleball. No problem in the mornings. It seemed like that was fine while we were doing the morning sessions there for the most part. And then we got into teaching pickleball lessons there from 12 until 3. And then at 3 o'clock, we had an afternoon come in, and they stayed until dusk. So those are the kind of questions we have, and we need those to be answered pretty soon because we do want to go outside. Many of our people that play with us do like to go outside. So that's all I'm asking for, is a clarification of when the courts are going to open, if, and also what the hours and what kind of supervision will there be of those courts. Thank you very much.
Good evening. I'm Audrey Gavin. I live at 7284 Highview Trail. I've lived here since 2012. We moved here because we have grandchildren living here, and we wanted the family to be together. But I also have known since 2012 there's been huge growth in this town. We are one of the few schools in New York State that is still growing. So you are going from, and I grew up in a small farm town, so I get it, peace and quiet, but that's not what we have now. I know you guys have a hard decision to make. You have a lot of young professional people moving into the community, and their expectations is, there's more activities and more things to do, which is pretty much what's happening with the younger people anyways these days. They want activities. They want places they can go play pickleball. They want places, we have Boughton Park. We go kayaking out there. They just need more things to keep physically active because our society has decided that that's important to stay healthy, to live longer and have a healthier life. So I know you have a hard decision. I understand, how the residents who have been here a long time probably feel like the rest of us are encroaching on their territory, and that's hard. I get it. But we're moving toward the future. We've created this community. It's growing. It's a great community to live in, have great schools, and we appreciate the challenge you have of trying to balance all of the needs of everyone in the community. And thank you for taking the time and consideration and listening to all of us and trying to make it some kind of decision that works for everyone. Thank you.
Any other members of the public care to address the town board?
I call it the pickleball predicament. I love it. I love it. Hi, I'm Beth Lombard. I'm at 860 Sagamore Way. I've only been a resident for 2.5 years, so I'm trying to understand and get involved in this community because I think it's a great community. So I would like to ask, since from my experience, that you as the board communicate better to your constituents. So tonight, I got a little frustrated for one situation, but then I realized in October 2020, I had the same situation. So it's that I've emailed and asked questions on how to make suggestions, and then how do I get answers, and I don't get anything back. I have to follow up. I was hoping Karen would be here tonight, because this recent issue was I had asked Karen a question about, what do we do now? Like, what's the next step? She never responded. So, and then I saw on the agenda tonight that there was going to be discussion of something that I submitted with a fellow resident. So that was just a little upsetting, because again, 2 years ago, I sent whoever was on the board, most of you guys were on the board, an email using the emails on the website, and if that's not current, then please update them. Never heard a response. Forwarded the note again and asked for information. Never heard anything. I followed up with Karen by phone. She was going to talk to you guys. Nothing. I had to walk in one day. Jack happened to be in his office. He sat down, had a chat with me, explained it, and that was fine. So again, I'm just telling you as a new resident, like we're talking about, there's going to be a lot more influx of people coming in. We'd like to know how to get involved and how to make sure we're being heard. So I just appreciate a little bit of respect, of basic communication response, of acknowledgement. So again, this reason, Renee, if you can talk to Karen about that, I follow up the note, but I want to make sure people are hearing what I'm asking for. Thank you.
I believe she did respond by email to let you know that she had submitted your...
She did. So on March 2nd, we had a conversation. On March 9th, I followed up. She finally responded and said that she was on vacation. There was not going to be a meeting on the 14th. I replied to that note on the 14th, and I said, I'd like to know, can you clarify if the board will take time to review this and discuss this at a town hall? Do they need time to respond, and then they'll get back to us? I never heard an answer on that. So that's why I try to understand what to do. Do I come and show up and listen, or do I wait for a note back? So that's...
She's still out of town, so that's...
So again, follow-up backup. I'm in business as well. We have people who respond and follow up with people out there. She wasn't in town. She could have copied someone else in the town to make a response back to me. Thank you.
Any other residents care to address the town board? Okay.
Supervisor,
Notaries.
I believe Mr. Emelson is raising his hand.
Oh. Yeah, certainly, Brian.
Brian Emelson, Director of Parks and Recreation. I'd like to move on with pickleball. I think I'd like to make the recommendation. I've heard from most of the board, I believe, on this subject. I'd like to recommend that perhaps we have one representative from the pickleball group and one representative from the neighborhood group get together with myself and perhaps Councilman Condon or Councilman Cusimano or someone from the town board, and we discuss what's reasonable, and we move forward as a community. Instead of constantly waiting every 2 weeks, we hear the same discussions, opposition, pro, con, and we work as a community to resolve this issue. That's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Brian. Okay. We'll follow up. I would assume, Keith, you would be the spokesperson for the pickleballers?
Yes, I will.
I don't want to anoint you to anything you don't want to do. And where's Carol? Carol? Yes? Okay. Councilman Cusimano is a member of the Parks and Rec Advisory
Absolutely.
Committee. Deputy Town Supervisor, Dave Condon.
They need another voice, but I'm happy to sit in.
And then with
I'm happy to sit in. I got some time.
Emerson. Okay, thank you. Okay, moving to reports of town officials. We have Ms. Kim Kinsella, Project Coordinator, provided an overview of her department's activities. I do want to mention that, and I don't know if you received a copy of this, but the efforts of her department and her team last year, they had the permit activity was the highest in the last 5 years, and the amount of fees collected goes back to the highest total since 2017, and the number of inspection activity total goes back to 2018, the last highest. So Well done by Kim's department. Economic development, it was mentioned, members of the Legion here, that we are working. Today we did have a meeting regarding the parade. It is our goal to resume the parades. Last year we had a COVID parade via cars only, and we want to go back to the parade efforts we've had previously when we had the opportunity for people to march, and all of our young civic groups part of that as well. So, in addition, you have the engineering reports, highway report, and moving to the clerk's report. I know Renee's got a couple items from the clerk's office.
Regarding the notice of intent regarding the notice of intent to establish lead agency from the town of Farmington, does anybody have any comments to that?
I have no comments, Renee.
And then the 30-day advance notice for the tavern wine application for the Regal Cinemas, Inc., DBA Regal Eastview Mall, 13th. Anyone object?
No issues.
No issues.
No, this is a new state law where, I guess, alcohol beverages can be served at theaters. So, thank you, Renee. I do have, bear with me, clerk, yeah, the Victor Fire District report. I wanted to mention that I attended the Victor Fire District banquet on March the 5th. A lot of new individuals in that department. They continue to get younger. I want to compliment our highway superintendent and his team. A phone call, it was captured in the comment cards. A resident from the town of Richmond who frequently frequents our roads. Want to compliment our highway department on their efforts in maintaining clean roads. So kudos, Mark. In addition, Keith Maynard has been named the chairman of the Ontario County Wayne Stormwater Coalition until December 31st of 2023. The Victor Chamber has essentially merged with the Canandaigua Chamber. This was announced on March 3rd. So here now will be under the title of the Ontario County Chamber of Commerce. So let's see how this works out. In addition, we are getting with the obstacle with that is what happens to the Hang Around Victor Day. That's kind of in limbo. The LDC did notify the village mayor that they do not have the resources to oversee this event. So that's something that we'll have to have town and village conversations regarding. I hate to see that go away as well. And I do want to mention, I handed out a quick correspondence we received from Councilman Cusimano regarding his observation at Eastview Mall. I did share this with the members of the Board of Supervisors, and what this had to do with that Councilman Cusimano, in his role as dad with his 3-year-old, came upon a peculiar individual in his attire and his strange behavior. And it was shortly thereafter that he observed the Ontario County Sheriff's deputy who was assigned to the mall with a mall security officer escorting this male out of the building. And I know you're very complimentary about, this is what it's all about, it's public safety. And one of the points I made to the members of the Board of Supervisors was the fact that this is the efforts between law enforcement, our district attorney, our town judges, to continue to protect the asset of Eastview Mall, which is an asset of both the town and the county. As many of you know, we have license plate readers at the mall as well, and I'll give you an example. Within the last 10 days, we had, there's 3 incidences with these license plates readers. We had reports of a license plate reader came in with a report of a stolen car was on the premise of the mall. Law enforcement from the mall went out with the state police, and sure enough, they were able to arrest 2 individuals that had walked out. At that time, they were parked outside one of our anchor department stores, and here they came walking out of the mall with $3,000 worth of stolen coats in their possessions. They were subsequently arrested. Another one was a stolen vehicle from Monroe County, license plate reader notified, and we arrested 2 individuals. They had money and narcotics on them as well. And then the third license plate reader was able to pinpoint an individual who actually took it upon himself. There was a unmarked patrol car in the parking lot, and he thought he was cute, and he let the air out of the tires. And subsequently, he was arrested as well. So, again, Councilman Cusimano, I just wanted to thank you for that letter. I shared it with the board, supervisors, but also certainly wanted to expand on some recent activity and the value of having those license plates readers. In addition, gentlemen, I provided you with the Farmington Victor Volunteer Ambulance February report. I'm also provided at your place setting a project search. It's a steering committee, and this is from Kathy, Canada. Her mother, Judy, used to work part-time here, supporting the supervisor's office, and prior to that, I know she was, I think, a admin for the school superintendent at one point up at Victor Central School. So take a look at that if that has piques anyone's interest. I also provided you with information, it is confidential, from Green Light regarding Green Light Network and looking for continued expansion in the town. Had a meeting with them. Also talked about certainly other areas, the entire town, but we're hoping more of that will come, and we'll see greater growth with broadband in dark areas of the town when the county is supposed to be following up. No time identified yet, but we're hoping to do an RFP at the county and use ARPA funding to make the broadband available to everyone. And the final item, I was notified by a group, USDA European Cherry Fruit Fly Survey Season, and I checked with the tree board head of that, Gene Pratt, and Brian provided me with some parks, and they are going to, at Fisher's Park, Lehigh Crossing Park, Village on the Park, and Auburn and Lehigh Valley Trails right-of-ways. There's plenty of trees that they want to put these fruit fly surveys out there and see what the health of our trees are like. So that's all I have. That was plenty.
I have 2 things, Jack. First thing I wanted to say is, Mark, the guys are doing a great job with the recycling like they always do, and I've noticed a real uptick in checking the permits. Obviously springtime rolls around, folks are coming in, not quite sure of the procedures, renewals are coming up, but they're doing a good job of checking and continuing to do good service over there. The second thing I wanted to report out on was at the planning board meeting this past week. Verizon had 2 proposals before the planning board. One was to do a new 5G tower up on Baker Hill, and the other one was to do the tower off of Brownsville, up behind Ravenwood, which is a single tower by itself up there. And it really was a very interesting discussion from the standpoint that a resident who lives up on Baker Hill, who is an expert in, whatever waves we're talking about, is talking about radiation levels. And he was talking about the radiation levels coming off of Baker Hill collectively. While the planning board said, we are bound by FCC regulations and this and that, the gentleman's point was, yeah, your tower is in compliance with the radiation that it can give off. But what about collectively? I kind of look at the analogy as kind of the traffic studies, right? We have these traffic studies all the time, and this project's not going to impact traffic, this project's not going to impact traffic, but then collectively, all of the projects impact traffic. So I thought it was really interesting. The planning board was very receptive, and they approved the one on the single tower, and the one that was on the joint tower, they said, we want more data. You know, the planning board said, we want more data, we want to make sure that, you know, we're safe. This guy is, this gentleman is a two-time cancer survivor, and he didn't come out and say, I got cancer because I'm getting radiated. But he's saying that the radiation levels that he is getting outside of his door are above FCC standards or regulations. And so then I talked to the gentleman afterwards about that dead zone over there, right? When we drive around that corner, that bend on Brownsville or Valentine, if you're on your cell phone, I mean, calls get dropped all the time, and you're right below the towers. And you come right around the bend on Valentine, and it drops every time if you're on the phone. So I just thought it was kind of interesting. Stay tuned. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I thought the discussion was healthy and it was interesting. And we thank the resident for coming in, and he's going to bring some more data with him. And the gentleman from Verizon, kind of, in my opinion, kind of was ducking the collective issue, right? He was saying, well, our tower is only going to admit this much. But he was kind of ducking the collective issue. So the planning board said, well, what if you go up there and we find out collectively that our levels are too high? What are your options? You know, so then I think it gets into something about putting the tower up higher or whatever, and, you know, but stay tuned. I thought it was kind of interesting.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, I did, first of all, Ms. Lombard, I owe you an apology. Your frustration level, I could certainly, was easy to see here, and so I apologize for not responding to you and any frustrations you may have. I know Karen certainly tried numerous times to get information, so I have had in-depth conversation excuse me, with the Farmington Town Supervisor. Town of Farmington, even Peter will tell me that we have sidewalks to nowhere, Jack, but we have sidewalks, and they do maintain them. That's part of their town code, in their town code, and that I think falls upon under the jurisdiction of their Parks Department. I don't think it's their highway. I think it's Parks, and correct? Sound like?
Yes, it is. They use their parks trucks and trailers to navigate to the spots.
Yeah. And Councilman Guinan had sent me an email earlier today, so he's going to expand on that in a few minutes, but I don't, in my conversations with the mayor and John Turner, unfortunately, many of the sidewalks that are being constructed today in the town are 4 to 5 feet in width, and unfortunately, in your neighborhood, the concerns is if we were to go through the process of creating a sidewalk district and only tax people who live within a sidewalk in front of their house, the concerns that John had expressed to me, and even if we were to outsource that, would be the restoration. Because, so we have a 3-foot sidewalk, and I think you know when I'm...
Yeah, there's 2 issues. So you're going back to my original issue back in October 2020, which, yes, I did ask Highway Department to explain that.
Okay.
The current issue is something else, so I don't know if you want to address that.
Yes, you provided a code for our consideration.
Yeah, it was myself and Doug Johnson. He couldn't be here tonight, so we weren't going to...
Yeah, I think he's zooming here. John Turner?
No, Doug Johnston.
Oh, okay, I see.
We weren't going to ready to present anything, but I just saw that you guys had on the agenda.
Yeah.
So it's just your turn to discuss and to understand this. Is this what you guys discuss? And then if you need us to come back because we still need more information, or we still want to push this.
Some great pictures. So all the photos that you had provided, Karen, have been distributed to the town board. So I clearly know that they get a sense of your frustration and what it has. It's not necessarily, if I was your neighbor and I had a snow blower and I cleaned my driveway and then I clean my walk. It's Jack, who's got a plow driver, a contractor comes in, plows it, cleans my driveway, and away he goes. And that is blocking the sidewalks.
Right, so it makes it impossible for, even if we were saying, like Doug and I talked about, we would help our neighbors, those that have snow blowers, or just help try and dig it out, but it's so immensely compact now once you leave it, that you can't even help, you can't even get a snow blower through it.
Why don't we do this? If you don't mind, why don't you come to the podium so then
Right, I want Doug to
no, I know you know, but
I can answer some questions and we can come back as we have other neighbors who would like to express their concern for this and love.
Recording, so
Okay.
that we're transcribing, we can hear,
Yeah.
and for that, people.
And
I was going to say that I think that, obviously, what's happening up there, what's happening is unacceptable, right? I mean, you can't walk the sidewalks. I think where we have been discussing preliminary is whether or not the town wants to get into the sidewalk business. We've talked about that a little bit as far as the plowing, and whether it's going to be inevitable, and then how do we best do that? And I think, we got your proposal today, or, we got your proposal from February 28th, and started to read over through that. And obviously, legal will have to weigh in on it, and we'll look at it.
So, and our first thing is is a town code to say don't block, obstruct sidewalks, right? We're talking about accessibility, right? These other people around that have issues that we want to, I have people in my neighborhood.
The car on the sidewalk is blocking the sidewalk, right? That's a right.
Right, there's people with strollers, right?
Yep.
Families want to go around, there's people with disabilities. I saw a gentleman back in October when I first wrote this, that in my neighborhood, and I understand he's actually a well-known gentleman, a former cop, Huntington's disease, and he's trying to walk the sidewalk and has to, can't walk straight, has to move out of the way or whatever, so.
My daughter-in-law, unfortunately, bought a corner lot in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and they have a 2-inch minimum, so when they get 2 inches, you are responsible as a homeowner to shovel the sidewalk, and she didn't realize what a good deal she got on the corner lot, because she has to shovel one side of her property and then the other side. They got fined, they got a thing in the mail, $150 fine the first year they moved there, from New York State to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, that is a resident. Their code was, you're responsible for the 50, 60 feet of sidewalk that's in front of your house. And once there's 2 or 3 inches of snow, it's your responsibility to keep it clear.
Not even there, an example, we have an example of a town code that exists here in New York, so it's not unusual for here, right? And I understand that it's hard because here, if you're making the homeowners do it and they just happen to get a sidewalk in front of their house, maybe they didn't before and didn't want it, which I understand in Quail Ridge, that's what it was. I get it, because homeowners across the street that don't have it, but they get to use the sidewalks that somebody else struggled. It's about the community. I know it's really hard to understand about helping each other out and trying to do the best that you can, that we can all use facility.
Well, the other issue too is in Quail Ridge and Taylor Rise and Sagamore, you're on village property on one side of Sagamore, and you're on town property on the other side. So John Turner in Public Works is coming up, and they'll be plowing part of Quail Ridge.
I know, I live there, that's why I started walking, and I noticed, I'm like, how come all of a sudden I'm on Sagamore?
Why did they stop?
And this is great.
They're in the town of Victor and not in the village of Victor. So
it was just.
So I have asked the Planning and Building Department to take a look at that, so look at this code for feedback. And I do know one thing, if the board considers this would be town-wide. It would be
Right.
town-wide.
Right.
So,
And
Councilman?
then maybe later you discuss potentially, again, I know it's funding and taxes, and everybody hates the word taxes, but it's a way to eventually maybe support a sidewalk plowing initiative.
So the town portion we've never done sidewalks from the town point of view.
What do you mean by that? You're talking about plowing or
We don't
something
have
else?
snowplow equipment for sidewalks, we don't have.
I get that. I'm just addressing the obstruction of
so-
sidewalks for accessibility. That's our
Right, and
concern.
that's what I'm trying to get to. So we aren't, the quick fix would be for us to approach John and have anything that's within the village, within their connectivity, to have their equipment do it. That's the quick fix going forward. We do it town-wide, and it's another thing, because when you go for John to do it, John's reluctant because of the 3-foot to 5-foot. Even the village has gone to the point where anytime they've done renovation, they go to 5-foot, and 5-foot is a standard in the town now. They don't have a piece of equipment that will actually do a 3-foot sidewalk without adding equipment or doing something, or what would they charge us, and all that. So it's not an ignoring of the fact that we have to do something, it's how we're going to approach it, and
I get it, and I wanted you guys to start thinking about this as again, we're expanding from this farm town, what I understand, to a very suburban, lots of development that's going
We're getting to the point
on.
now, we're certain, now that there's more building going on out in the rural areas, that these people, the builders are proposing a sidewalk within a loop. So the town would have to, at that point, if you did it, have a truck and a trailer and an operator and a piece of equipment that's going to take the equipment out and do it and come back again, which is what Farmington does through their Parks and Rec. It's a big budgetary item. It's hundreds of thousands, not just a contract with the village. So it's a twofold thing, and to do it in Saginaw, in that area, it would require us to buy probably do a reconstruction on the sidewalk portion of it to take it to 5 feet to meet the rest of it. And so it needs to be done. You know, something needs to be done, and it's a bigger problem than just saying we're going to have John Turner plow those sidewalks. But I
get it. So let's start by the code gives a
Right.
culture of, hey, this town expects people to clear their sidewalks. If you can't do it yourself, you hire someone, right? There's lots of able-bodied children, and I see them out there, and I know it's I don't know, we used to be, I don't know what happened, right? We used to have kids that would get out there, parents would force their kids out, clear the sidewalks, clear the driveway, right? Like, I get it, mine barely want to go outside either, but it's, again, you set the tone with a code. You also raise funds by having a fine, right? Start to put that away for whatever you need to do, keep the sidewalks in proper use, right? Maybe save it away for a new equipment to start plowing some area. You know, I mean, again, this is about I don't want to make it just about sidewalk plowing. It's about accessibility, and that's how you have to think about this. That's what our point is that should we not obstruct the sidewalks? No, we should not obstruct the sidewalks. They're a municipal right-of-way. Is that how you see them? Because you guys put them in, and that's what they're there for. So therefore, you can make the decision that they shouldn't be obstructed. We don't want that. So that's, again, what I'm trying to stress here is.
Yeah, I think your original point about the homeowner's responsibility, there is some responsibility there. You know, if I hire John Smith's plowing company, he comes and he leaves a mess that blocks the sidewalk on both sides of my driveway, similarly, I would expect someone to take care of it, whether it's me or him, that's between me and him, I think. We have a similar type thing with our wastewater, right? The retention ponds that we have, where the homeowner or the property owner is responsible for maintaining them, the wastewater facilities. I think it's similarly, this falls under the homeowner. You know, you buy that house, you have a sidewalk in front of it, you're responsible. When I grew up, that was always our responsibility. Where I grew up, you had to clean the sidewalk. That was part of the thing. So Dad would say, get the shovel, you'd go out, and then Dad, you come in and Dad go, no, the handicapped neighbor next door, go take care of them too. But that was like a thing that was in our household, you know? But in our town, you were responsible for the property, true with the sidewalk that's in front of your house, whether it's on the other side of the street or anybody else is using it. No, you clean it, it's your responsibility.
Yeah, and I've talked to my homeowner, or my fellow residents, that I've asked when I noticed the plow guy was just coming in and pushing it, and I asked the plow driver, he said, I'll do the best I can. Well, I asked the homeowner, hey, can you ask your plow guy to not block the sidewalk? So that, again, communication with people. Let's start with that. They said, I'll ask, but again, whose responsibility is it? We thought about, do you charge the snowplow guy? No, the resident hires that person, they need to tell them what needs to be done. If they can't accomplish it, then they need to figure out how to deal with it, right? Because then who do you fine? You can't go chasing around the snowplow guys, it's the homeowners. So that's where we landed on.
So Council, I turned your microphone on, so that probably means I'm going to ask you a question. So if we were to go through the process of doing a code, how does that work? So if a good citizen, Ms. Lombard, calls us, said, hey, such and such of, here's the address, same scenario, somebody takes a picture, sends it to us, is it a notice by the codes department? What's the step? That's what I want to understand.
Essentially, it would be a code violation. So it would be this similar to locating an improvement in a conservation easement. It would be a notice that you're in violation, or a better analogy would be if your grass is too high. The code enforcement officer can cite you for violating the town code. So this would be a similar situation if there is an obstruction, if a plow comes through and the plow doesn't do a proper job and actually impedes access through the sidewalk, the homeowner would be then responsible and could be cited and then potentially fined by the town.
So do your code officers, sorry to interrupt, but do your code officers proactively drive around? Like, we don't want it to be like people ratting everybody out, right? Like, I expect from where I'm from, the code officers drive around, they look for things that are not in code, and then they can issue the fine themselves. Or the residents call up and say, hey, this is being blocked, and it has been more than, let's give them 20 or 36, 72 hours, right?
I would say the latter. I would
Which-
say
In
if
most
somebody-
cases,
Most
yeah.
cases, I mean, they're busy, and they've got stuff going on, so they're not gonna hey, let's go drive around and see what's going on.
Okay, but as they're driving, if they see something, they would...
If they see
okay,
something, they would
okay.
certainly respond to it. They've done that on easements, on conservation easements, especially areas that have been hotbeds of people extending their yards into areas that they shouldn't. So they've been pretty aggressive with that. And certainly, they're very quick at responding when a resident calls and says, hey, I think what this guy's doing is wrong. He's putting a fence up. I haven't seen any notice on it. I haven't seen anything. I'm not trying to be a bad neighbor. It's just that, I think the fence is too high. It's too close to my property, whatever. Then they go out, and then I think it's more of a response to a resident calling and asking. And certainly there's going to be a huge education piece. We could make some serious money on this, the first winter, with our $50 fines.
About the money.
I'm being facetious, but,
know.
I mean, this obviously has to be fixed, in some way, fashion, or form.
And just, I think Mark will agree with me. I mean, the village, or if you're on a regular route, they approach it like they do the streets. They'll do it probably twice a day. If somebody comes in, their driveway's plowed and they leave ridges, their responsibility is they're going to plow it however many times it needs, just like they plow the roads twice a day, 3 times a day, whatever the storm requires. And so in most cases, whatever's left from the plow or the obstructions gets taken out by those routes. They're a standard route type thing. If it's the responsibility of the municipality to do it, just like they put the snow back in your driveway when they plow the road, and if they plow the sidewalks and it throws the snow back into your driveway. It's just part of the routine of the routes. I don't think if it was on a regular route, if it was fixed and done properly, that those obstructions would be there. Whatever is left behind is going to go back into the driveway of the person that had the driveway plowed, because it's going to be the route. They got a V-plow or an angle plow that's going to push it to one side, or a snow blower. But if it's on a regular route, on a regular routine, as part of their maintenance project, the obstructions won't be there, I don't believe. They're just going to be gone, right? So they're not going to have the obstructions in the sidewalk, the right-of-way. They're going to have them cleared in the regular routine maintenance of those pieces. So I don't think that the obstruction would be the issue, really, once it was on a regular route. If the village was doing those properties, or the town took on the property, the liability of or the obligation to plow those routes, I think it would be done on a regular basis, just like a street would be done, and it wouldn't be there. Right, Mark? Am I?
Yeah, what normally happens, and I've seen it, because we have relatives that live in Main Street in the village, and the plow goes through on the sidewalk, and it puts snow on either side because it's a V plow, right? So it blocks up their driveway, and it blocks up the entrance to the driveway just in front of the sidewalk, and then they're responsible to go dig that out again. So it's obviously it's an issue. We need to address it. I think the easiest way for us as a board to address it is to change the code, and then let's look at what that means, because I really don't think us creating a street plow sidewalk team in Mark's group is going to be beneficial, because there's so much that we're going to have to cover. He's going to have like 20 guys just doing sidewalks.
But I think it's going to be important to make sure that we're noting that it's not specifically related to a snow event.
No, absolutely,
It's just
absolutely.
accessibility in all respects. So to the extent that, folks are driving around, if they're noticing, or, there's consistently individuals that park 3 cars deep in the driveway.
Yep.
Exactly.
Park in the,
Into the sidewalk, it's a
into the
problem.
sidewalk, things like that. It's going to be, unfortunately, it's going to be more of a response than an actual, active seeking out of these issues. And it's not necessarily being, a bad neighbor, but if it's becoming habit forming and it's consistent, at that point in time, to me, it's time to make the town aware of it, so the town can take action and try to curb that behavior, and not necessarily, leave it to the neighbors that kind of are, have to deal with it themselves. But I just want to make the point that it's certainly, the snow is the biggest and most common and most in your face, but I think it's some of the little things that, if there's a routine and a habit, I think it's going to be incumbent on the landowners, the neighboring landowners, to at least alert the town that there's a continuing issue that needs to be addressed, and then, the code enforcement could follow up from there.
Councilman Cusimano, again, if you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think I would be in support, and certainly, I know, Mark, we haven't spoken a lot on it, but, the highway folks are certainly taxed with road maintenance, especially during those times, and like council said, the snow isn't the only thing, but, during those periods of snow, I think that, certainly, for lack of a better term, the roadways are the most important thing, and we would have to look at a pretty substantial change to our operations in the highway facility or parks to be able to accommodate that. Not to say that that can't happen, or we can't consider that in the future, but I think a code change in the very short term to put the requirement on the homeowner to maintain the sidewalks would be both prudent, appropriate, and easy from our side compared to the alternative.
Thank you, all of you, for your comments. I am a supporter of the code change. Unfortunately, I got to poke a hole. You'll recall, months and months ago, we had an individual, probably a year ago, came in with a fence that he put up, and we're still in court. So I'm just envisioning, he still has his fence up, and we still have snow on the driveway. So we could do code changes, but I don't know what we need some teeth. We need something, because government, also known as dropping anchor, is very slow and tedious, and the frustration, I could see it now, would not be good.
I will say that unlike the fence issue, or it's a little bit different, I think that if the code is written in such a way that, and I've seen this in the kind of grass cutting, context, in the event that you get cited, you get fined. If the circumstance continues the next day, that is an opportunity to be fined yet again. It doesn't have to be a fine that's limited to a one-time. It's not just you've been fined, so now that's the end of it. It's you can be fined for each day or however long period of time the town determines is appropriate for the situation to be remedied. That would be a way that you can get the homeowner's attention, because the fines can keep compounding, and then the town has the ability then to, if the fines aren't paid, then it's potential of leaning and things of that nature to try to get compensation. But it's purely done just to get the homeowner's attention and get this situation resolved.
That's a good point, of putting a time frame, like, maybe it has to be in the code. I don't know if that's appropriate to say, it'll be fined, and you have to comply within so many days,
Right.
or else you're fined again, and so it's clear that you could be fined multiple times.
And again, there needs to be discussion about that aspect, because you could have a homeowner that is away unexpectedly and, doesn't realize that, that the situation is there, but at least it needs to be the ability for the town to impose a fine if it's appropriate, and if they need to do it on a continuing basis to make sure that the homeowner knows that it's serious, maybe that's a way to get the teeth that you want in the code, so that you're not in the situation where, it's a little harder to get a court order to remove a snow pile as opposed to remove a fence in a conservation easement. I think there needs to be a little bit more of a practical way to address this situation than that one.
Thank you. I feel much better after hearing that, so.
You want me to turn this off now?
You can shut it off, okay? Thank you. So as I mentioned, the Code Planning and Building Department, I've asked them for some feedback. I'll share that feedback with the board as well as council, and we're going to take a look at what you have provided us, Ms. Lombard, and get something with, add some additional teeth into that, and move forward, okay?
Thank you. I've got to give credit to Doug Johnson, because he was
And
working
we'll
on
notify you,
it.
because anytime we have a code, we'll do a set public hearing, and then we have a public hearing, an opportunity, yourself and other neighbors to speak for or against such codes.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Okay, moving to the resolutions, starting with number 1 is a correction of manifest number 5. Has to do with a voided check.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 2 is amending resolution number 113 of 21. Evidently on the second whereas, identifying the source of funds being deposited into a reserve was missing, so now it's not.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 3, 2021 A fund budget increasing building and land reserves for the unappropriate unassigned fund balance. And again, earlier tonight, we had, we paid a voucher to work with our auditor, and this is some of the results of this, working with Rich as well as working on the end-of-year audit report.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 4, this is amending the DB Highway Fund budget and increasing the capital reserves. And this money would be moving for building and land accounts, to the building and land account for future highway facility construction.
So moved.
Second.
Drew.
Okay.
It's true.
Two.
It's
It
okay.
was very close. It was very close.
I give it to him.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, and number 5, as our highway superintendent has found, that you can't get those Western tandem trucks we're used to, we got to take the next best thing. So, Mark, and I have a question. Are we talking, what's the time frame? Are we a year out, 15 months? So they see it's a 2023 model is what you're...
Yeah, so they're giving us a date of delivery of August of this year, 2022. So if we were to not go this way, you're looking at the first quarter of 2023.
You think you'll get it by then?
Should, yes.
Yeah.
That's what they're telling me. And then we've also got a date for the plow equipment to be installed in August. So, or actually in September, sorry. So truck cab chassis in August, and then it'll be installed on the equipment.
You're not going to
for
sell the one
September.
until we get the other one in, right?
Correct, yes,
Okay.
yes.
And actually, we're pretty fortunate to have, I'm not going to say surplus, but we have some kind of backup, because I know the Bristol Town Supervisor was just about begging last week for a 10-wheeler, evidently, because the same thing, they just don't have that backup within their fleet,
Right.
and they're looking at 12 to 15 months out, so.
Yeah.
You just don't go
Exactly.
to Enterprise and get those kind of pieces of equipment.
No, you can't, unfortunately. So.
Okay. So again, this is, it was a Western Star, and now we're going to go with a Freightliner tandem, so, motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Councilman Condon, Councilman Guinan, all those in favor?
Aye.
Me.
Kind
Okay, resolution number 6 has the title change, certifying officer for the Small Business Assistance Program. That has been amended. And board members, if you want to consider a block of 6, 7, 8, 9, are all part of that.
I'll move that we block them.
Second.
Okay, so we are taking action on all 4. We have a first by Councilman Condon, a second by Councilman Guinan. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? 6 through 9 have been approved. 10 and 11, my understanding, there's question regarding the cost of 11.
Can I speak to it, Jack?
You may, sir.
I looked at the agreement for the consulting services, and I think it's too high of a percentage. If you look at the contract, I think they're asking too much to raise too little. And I talked to Rich, and I've spoken to Karen before. If I came into the town clerk's office and gave him a check for $500 tomorrow and said, hey, this is a donation, put it to whatever you should want, that's unsolicited, right? So we didn't go asking for that. Somebody dropped it off, and they said, put it to whatever you use, put it towards the Easter egg hunt, put it to whatever you want. It's unsolicited. I understand the law has changed, and we can't have our town employees solicit those donations that we've done in the past. But we've got a pretty good list between Brian and Mike that we could pass on to somebody who is employed outside the town and give them a flat percentage on what they can solicit for us. And I think that, I just think the percentage of what they're asking is too high on this particular referendum. It's almost, if you look at the total cost, it's almost 40%. And I'm looking at something, I think, more along the lines of 10%. If you raise 10 grand for us and in donations, we'll give you 1,000. If you raise 50, I'll give you the 5. But I just think that, that percentage is way too high. So I think it needs to be tabled, and we should look a little harder. And certainly, like I said, whoever's going to take this on has got a pretty good list that they could grab from Brian and Mike, saying, this is what we used to do. We can't do this anymore, but these are the folks that you want to hit up. That's my opinion.
So why don't we do this? Why don't we table 10 and 11?
Yep.
And we'll go to number 12. This is a request for certificate of liability insurance waivers. There are three various vendors listed on this request.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Councilman Kohovic was the first.
Can we block 13, 14, and 15?
Let's,
after you.
on 12, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. 13, 14, and 15 considered
16 and
by a
17.
block by Councilman Condon. Do we have a second?
Second? Oh.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, 13, 14, and 15 are approved. Moving to number 16, this is agreement with Moreland Lawn and Landscape, for fertilization of our, and pesticide applications.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kohovic. All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 17, purchasing a Toro Turfmaster. Are there any questions on this?
So moved.
Second.
Offered by Councilman Condon, second by Councilman Kohovic. All those in favor?
Aye.
Moving to 18, drainage improvement area extension. And again, as identified earlier, no comments at the public hearing, and again, no capital cost to the town of Victor.
So, just for clarification for the layperson, what this is doing is it basically is putting Bluemont Rise in charge of that pond that's going to be in front, in that development. And they'll have an HOA to take care of that? Is that what that means, or not?
It's including it into, and again, we don't have engineering. My understanding, it's included into the drainage improvement area. And my understanding, I thought the cost would then be incurred by all.
Them, right?
Yeah.
Yep. Is that, Mark, is it, do you have a read on it or not?
I know Keith's been working on this, so I'm not up to speed on all of it, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know for certain. I would assume that if it's part of the drainage improvement area, then it's the cost, it's basically going to be a cost that's attributed to all the homeowners, and the town would then maintain that pond.
Like what we do now?
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Any other questions? Yes.
As representative of the engineering firm, are there any questions you'd like me to report to our team back for?
No,
No,
I'm good.
Thank you, though, Mike. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I'm sorry, we didn't get a first and second. Okay. We need a first and a second, please.
So moved.
Second.
Offered by Councilman Condon, second by Councilman Kohovic. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? 18 is approved. Number 19, agreement with Midland Appraisal. This was the lowest appraisal firm. There is a 6 to 7 time frame before they can get that finished, but we have had, Rich has contacted the owner. The owner did, his response, certainly willing to talk to us. He did say that they were considering not selling it for a couple more years. Is that correct? Okay, but we'll see. So we'll get the appraisal and we'll sit down with them.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, offered by Councilman Condon, second by Councilman Cusimano. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Number 19 is approved. Number 20, Victor Consolidated Sewer District, the 2022 pump station improvement, set public hearing. This would be a public hearing to be held on April the 25th. We are working extremely hard with Labella and Keith and Rich and I to work on reducing what would be potentially what we would have to borrow for this. This is, you'll recall Pump Station 11. We actually declined that recently and thought our best approach would be to bundle Pump Station 7 with 11 and then include 5 as well. As you can see, we're also adding a number of very needed backup generators as well. So right now, we're setting the public hearing, and hopefully we'll continue to have more numbers as we get closer to the 25th of April.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Number 21 is a letter of credit, Willis Hill Estate Phase 2, release number 1. Questions?
So moved. Second.
Offered by Councilman Condon, second by Councilman Kohovic. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Number 22, this one is, might have to turn Kevin's mic on again. License and hold harmless agreement. This, as you get into it, you'll see the sign, what's being proposed by the builders out in front, and that's why it's a little complicated regarding how many easements. There's drainage easement, sanitary sewer easement, stormwater management easement, and I know Monroe County Water Authority. So there's like 4 different easements
Yes.
necessary. Go ahead.
I was going to say there's easements that are necessary for the installation of all the utilities, and the sign is going to be, appears to be encroaching within those easement areas. Typically, you don't want improvements within the easement areas, because if you have to get in to do work, those improvements will have to be removed. Certainly, if the sign has to be temporarily removed so that the work can be done, that's certainly something that can be accomplished. It'd be different if it was going to be a permanent, shed or something a little bit larger. It'd be a little bit more of a practical concern, but a sign with just simply removing the footers to get in to do the maintenance work is something that certainly could be accomplished.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that. Any questions on this resolution? Hearing none, entertaining motion for the approval of.
So moved. Second.
Okay, you have both those? Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Those opposed? Number 22 is passed. Moving to the final resolution. This is a number 23 for the license and hold harmless agreement, 711 Ashford Way, to allow encroachment into the storm sewer easement. And would I presume Mr. Sorrentino? No? Yes? Okay. So in the documents provided to us, you'll see, actually in the last whereas, page 1, the building department and town engineer have concerns regarding the encroachment of the fence into the stormwater easement. May materially adversely affect the integrity, purpose, or function of the stormwater sewer easement, including but not limited to storm sewer, or be a hindrance in gaining access to any facilities or other infrastructure located within this easement. Repairs, maintenance, improvements. Unfortunately, I think what we have here is, again, these fences are sometimes good neighbors, bad neighbors, but there's a neighbor issue here with a dog. I don't know what size dog, but the dog has no boundaries. And the homeowner is hoping that a fence limits the amount of activity by this dog within his own yard. So I will tell you, this is the first time that I recall, and any type of proposed easements for our consideration, that I've seen this type of concern brought forth by the building department and town engineer. Unfortunately, we don't have the engineer with us tonight, so I don't know if it was Steve or Wes, but Wes? Wes.
Don't we have a leash law? I mean, you can't let your dog run around in Victor, no, can you? Renee?
No, you cannot.
You can't, right?
In the diagram that they provided, the yellow highlighted line is just a one straight run, right?
Yes.
It doesn't connect into anything else? It's just a straight run fence on the front of the yard?
That's the part that's in the easement.
Oh,
That's
okay.
That's what I highlighted, because that's the part that we're focusing on, is in the easement. He is, from what I understand, I think he is doing more fencing, but our concern is.
Is the
on
easement part, got it.
That's what I understand. I could be wrong. I know Keith has worked on this. I thought Mark, did he discuss this one with you?
We reached out to me briefly, but he's been working on this one with the building department, so.
And Wes. Their concern is mainly with the piping.
The concern, if you, from Wes, one concern might be the depth of post holes if they're installing a fence 1 inch from the property line, which is where the 12-inch drainage pipe is located. This could be a conflict. I mean, that was just one of the things that, if you'd like, we could table and maybe ask Wes and Keith to be present.
I would feel more comfortable with that, because I mean, when the whereas says that they're not comfortable with it.
Yeah.
I want to hear from the pros why they're not comfortable with it.
Why, I don't understand why it couldn't be removed if they had to replace that pipe. Is it, it's not a permanent fence. I mean, it's.
I think the issue and the difference here between the sign that we just discussed is that I think the length of the run of the fence is, the entirety of it could have to be removed in order to get access to this, to
So
the
the whole
pipe.
harmless agreement means that it's at on his nickel, right?
Correct, but I guess I'm likewise concerned about the language saying how it could materially interfere. I don't know if there's something in addition to simply being inaccessible, and having to remove the fence, or if there's something more with how deep
Or
the
else
footers are
it's-
going, or something like that, that has to support the fence that could interfere with the pipe or with the drainage function. So I would agree that I think it'd probably be best to table it so that additional information could be gathered.
But I just want to clarify that this would be a fence along where that, so the highlighted area there would be where the fence encroaches on the easement, and that's a 6-foot tall, solid privacy fence. So I guess my question is, how can they install a fence forward of the front edge of the home? Wouldn't that require a zoning variance?
Yeah, that's part of it, and one of the whereases says that contingent on
ZBA approval.
ZBA approval.
I see that on the back side now. I
Yeah, sorry.
apologize. I did not see that.
Yeah, so let's table that one.
We could even, ask the ZBA for an interpretation as well, if need be. But I think without our approval, it doesn't go anywhere anyways, so.
Correct.
Okay, it is tabled, number 23. At this time, public comment, opportunities for members of the public. And Susie, I apologize, I didn't ask you earlier. Any members of the public that have asked you questions? No, okay. Okay, board members, I do need a motion, where is it?
Go to executive?
Move executive session to discuss rule number 1, proposed litigation, rule number 3, the proposed acquisition, sale, lease of real property when publicity might affect the value. Attendees would be the town board and Harris Beach attorney Kevin Overton.
So moved.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kohovic. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Renee, thank you very much. And we anticipate no action. We'll just call for an adjournment, and I'll let you know in the morning.